Okay, let's do this. First order of business is to go to the General Atomics factory. I guess we're trying to chase down the Mechanist. Ada's going to tell us where to go. I'm going to follow along with the story. I can honestly say I know little or nothing about this DLC. The Mechanist, of course, I remember a Mechanist from Fallout 3, but you had the option to kill him in Fallout 3, so with that in mind, I don't know that they would be so sloppy as to include the same guy here, unless they, well, there's no way to import a save that I've seen to where they would know what your decision was, so I'm guessing this would have to be someone else entirely, who's taken the name of the Mechanist for himself to be some, I don't know, some perverted sense of justice or something. I guess we'll see. Whatever the case, we need to go find him and right Ada's wrongs. Ada needs revenge for her human companions who she feels all guilty for having let down by not being able to save their lives. If she had just fought harder or thought more or warned them away or just left the Commonwealth or something, and she's beating herself to death. Really victimizing herself in all of this. Poor Ada. Ada the troubled robot. Oh, wow. Either she was already damaged or she's not going toe-to-toe with these robots. Alright, let me get out of here. You know what? Let me use my get-out-of-jail-free card. I love Cyclejet. I guess if it came down to me surviving in the wasteland someday, the bombs fall, I would probably have to figure out a way to make Cyclejet. This stuff is the absolute shit right here. Also, I have this really cool mod on my chest piece. It came with it, and I've been using it because it fits really well with what I like to do. It's the biocom mesh, and it makes your chems last longer. And this is about the only chem that I use, but it's nice to get a few extra seconds out of it. It's really good to get out of a jam.
Let's take them out.
Essentially, when you get surrounded, sometimes you just can't tell what's going on. It just becomes a big cluster. It's nice to be able to slow things down a little bit, do a little extra damage, take a little less damage, and get out of trouble. I remember from our playthrough, there was a really funny quest in here.
If you find any spare parts, you be sure to let me know.
I will. In fact, these spare parts, I'm going to find a way to upgrade you if I can. I'm guessing that's part of it. I say I know little or nothing about the DLC. There's the option to have robot companions. That's one thing I do know. So I'm guessing if you can build robots and stuff, then maybe we can modify Ada with some better stuff than the patchwork crap that she's put together with right now. Yeah, there was a really funny quest here. Apparently this is a place for them to send back the nanny. Kind of like the Mr. Handy, but female version, I guess. The nanny models that were apparently defective and murdering the children they were supposed to be carrying after or something. Anyway, this is a place where they could be recalled and retrained or something. Anyway, we can go through that while we're here. Might as well. But we are looking for some kind of clues as to the Mechanist whereabouts, I guess.
Attention, people of the Commonwealth. I, the Mechanist, have come to bring about an age of peace.
I can't tell.
Do not be alarmed. These robots are your allies, your protectors, and they will not rest until the Commonwealth is saved.
Your impressive devices are...
Together, we will restore justice and bring about the dawn of a new age.
Okay, well, that sounds a little bit like the Institute. The same type of thinking. That's not going to work, buddy. Regardless, we need to get some revenge for Ada's friends. She's beating herself up over the fact that she wasn't able to protect the people who had essentially created her. She's feeling all guilty and everything, so we need to help her settle accounts. That's right. Oh, as promised, I wanted to talk to you guys about some ideas I had for the beginning of this game, and something that I think is not only feasible, but the modding community probably ought to get on top of. I seriously doubt Bethesda would humble themselves and admit having done any wrong and correct their, maybe mistakes. I don't know if I'd go so far as to use that word, but maybe. Anyway, without criticizing them too harshly. I mean, we're sitting here playing the game, right? It's got to be something to it. I would, I'll basically just say it like this. All right, as it is, you are frozen in the vault, and you start with a backstory, which right there, right off the top, that, in my opinion, is kind of getting away from what makes Bethesda games great. You know, that whole unnamed prisoner, where even if you have somewhat of a story, you're still an unknown quantity. You still have a blank slate to work with. Even in Fallout 3, okay, you're a kid in the vault, and you know who your dad is, and that kind of defines at least the purpose for being in the wasteland, but it leaves it open enough that, you know, just searching for clues, you have to search for clues on where to look for clues in Fallout 3, so it feels natural. You don't ever feel pressured like you do in this game that you should be doing this, but there's so much other fun to do. In other words, if you take advantage of the 90% of the rest of the content in the game, besides going and looking for Sean, then the entire time, if you stop to think about it, you're almost left feeling guilty that you're not looking for Sean, because you're doing what? Gathering razor grain and mute fruits and looking for weapon mods and establishing settlements. And you know, I had something of a mental workaround for that, where, okay, if you're going to go find your son, you need to give him a world worth living in. So having settlements, that's a good thing. And I mean, I get that, but it's just all the stuff, and you're finally like, you know, if this was a parent looking for their child, they'd be hot on that trail. You know, so that's one thing, which it kind of leaves a hole in the story. It requires the player to do a huge mental workaround to justify the, oh wow, ooh, that's a legendary. Okay, I probably want to be careful here. He can probably one-shot me, I'm guessing. Looks like he has one of those children of Adam weapons. Child of Adam weapons. Plasma gun, I guess? I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to get hit with that. No, thank you. That was pretty close. Anyway, so here's what I thought of, and I said, you know, this kind of answers most, if not all, of the issues that I have with the entire foundation of the story, for one, and then, I don't know, I think it would clear up a lot of other things as you go along, is imagine this, and you don't have to change too much. Instead of starting out as one of the couple, one of the parents of Sean, start out as an anonymous neighbor from across the street or down the street. Maybe you're just visiting to borrow a cup of milk, do some old 1950s thing, you know, give me a cup of milk or a cup of sugar type of thing, you know, or so we can make our pancakes this morning, and, you know, all very American apple pie and all that good stuff. And while you're there, you know, I remember one thing from the intro is you find a pack of cigarettes, and neither of the couple that start the game smoke. There's always that enigma is whose pack of cigarettes is that. It may be answered at some point in the game, but I'm thinking, you know, that kind of clues me into bringing in a third person and then letting that be your character. Maybe you're that person that left those cigarettes there, or brought out the whiskey and the wine bottle first thing in the morning, right? Or had come to visit the evening before or something. Whatever, doesn't matter. Bottom line is, play one of the neighbors from across the street. Could be man, could be woman. You could have a background. You could have a scientific background. You could have a military background. You could have all the above. And it's all explainable. There's no mental workarounds necessary for that. You could be anybody. Just a neighbor from across the street or down the street. Right? And so you spend the intro, you don't have to change the intro much, but instead of being one of the protagonists, the man or the woman, and you know, having that backstory set for you. You're either a retired lawyer or retired military, right? You are a married couple. You've had children, right? You are hetero. You are this. You are that, right? Instead of defining all those things, which I think RPG players are pretty spoiled to wanting to decide for themselves nowadays, because most games offer that now, but for reasons, that's what the players want. Instead of defining that so much, be an unknown enigma. Be someone else from across the street or down the street coming to visit, and you view the intro as it is from third person. You aren't the man or the wife. You are somebody else, and you watch it play out. Maybe you're even the godparent of that child, for example. There's lots of churches in the game and stuff like that. Maybe you're something like that. You can play it out any way you want, but the bottom line is just don't be one of the couple. And then you make it into the vault. Maybe you get in by a fluke. Maybe you are the last person on the list. You know how they have an empty cryo cell in the same chamber where you escaped from? What if you fill that cryopod there, or something like that? I believe the person was pulled out of that cryopod to be either experimented on or used for something. or something during the early days when the vault was first sealed after the bombs fell, something like that. But anyway, maybe you could take the place of that empty cryo cell. Just anything, whatever reason, you get into the vault and you're the only one that makes it out. Both the husband and the wife die through some unforeseen series of events or whatever when they go in to bring everybody out of stasis so they can pull the baby out, and everyone dies but you. And you manage to make it out. You could be male, you could be female, you could be anybody, anything. You could have whatever past you want to make for yourself. And you know what? That clears up, right there in my mind, like 90% of the issues, right there off the top. You don't have to think for yourself, well, how in the world does this middle-aged retired housewife come out of cryo being a ninja, engineer, chemist, scientist, locksmith, artillery specialist, etc., 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 right? Computer hacker and all this stuff. The odds of you having these combat specializations as well as all these other technical abilities is really slim to none, right? And so it requires the player to do too much work for the game in your own head. And to me, it literally just takes me out of it. It never lets me get into the game. I believe that particular beginning that I'm describing here would put the RP back in the G, so to speak, and allow you to play a Bethesda game as I believe they used to be. I don't know why they changed what they've changed here, but I've asked that same question about several gaming franchises and about several developers. Bethesda's not the only one that's going this direction, and it's not a good sign for at least for RPG fans in general. You know, it seems like a lot of different genres are kind of coming to a close. Shooter genre, Call of Duty's kind of dying. Battlefield never got off the ground like it should. It kind of gets the half respect that maybe it deserves, and so on and so forth, right? And then you have action and horror games, which are kind of trying to rehash the same old stuff with a new face and just make it prettier so that people will buy it. But then, you play it once and then set it down and never touch it again, that type of thing. And I'm only going by the fact that the games I hear all the hype about, what I've been doing is I don't even listen to people that do reviews anymore. I just see what people are doing 2 weeks after the game's released. Are you still talking about it? Are you talking about it even more than you were? Is this really the shit? Is this a game that pulls you in and makes you play? Is this one of those games that makes you late for work, that pulls you into a 24, 36, 48-hour gaming session where you forget that time has passed? You forget to eat, right? You don't shower for a day type of thing because you're just stuck with this controller in your hand. The only time you stop playing is to change out your controller batteries. That type of game. Where did those go? Anyway, I'm not saying that my idea for an intro to this game is a fix for all that and is going to turn Fallout 4 into the ultimate RPG experience type thing. But I do believe, honestly, it would put the Bethesda touch back in the game. Don't know why they took it out. That's troubling to me. The fact that I'm even asking that question in the first place, because it's a thing. It shouldn't even be a thing, but it is. There we go. Anyway, so if you get the gist, and I'm being, kind of vague, I'm just throwing the idea out there. Let anybody run with it, But keep Bethesda games in mind, and that really plays into what makes them great. Then you really would be your character out there in the wasteland. And you know what? The most beautiful thing about it? Sorry, this entire time, this robot thinks that I'm a recalled Miss Nanny model that's been sent back, and so for retraining, and so I had to do taking care of children things to be a little nanny. And apparently I passed, so it unlocks the safe and I get my loot. Anyway, it's pretty funny because you have to punish Timmy and take care of Timmy. Timmy is the child, I guess, that you... Anyway, whatever. But the most beautiful thing about that, I think, overall, is that if this isn't your child, you may be invested in following clues as to where this child is, right, and following traces, but not so invested like a parent would be that you need to feel guilty for doing anything else. Because surviving would be just as important to you out in the wasteland as finding this godchild or this neighbor's kid that you've heard rumors of, right? And that you go ahead and trace it down, and it pulls you into the story instead of you knowing the story ahead of time and just playing it out, which is kind of how it works right now. It's almost a crime shame they didn't do this in the first place. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying, This really isn't rocket science, is if they'd have done something so simple as that. And you know, and another thing, if you want a purpose for doing other stuff, in order to get into Diamond City in the first place, what if you had to have some kind of reputation among the factions out in the Waste? How hard would that have been? You know, you got to establish a certain number of settlements. You got to be a ranking member of the Brotherhood of Steel, which is open the doors to Diamond City, or else we got a representative that's going in there to ask some questions about the Institute type of thing. Or if you're really a gung-ho member of the community with the Minutemen, and you've established all these settlements and you become a person to be reckoned with, you've got more status among the Commonwealth in general than the mayor of Diamond City himself, then you earn enough respect to get in the doors and make it more like the Mages College was in Oblivion.
Yes.
Not that piece of shit sham in Skyrim, but the real Mages College that you went through 10, 20, 30 hours of questing across the entire land of Cyrodiil, visiting every major city there was to get in with every whoever their chief mage was over each of these colleges, right? You had to get a letter of approval from all these just to get into the college, just so you could make your own spells and enchant your weapons. You had to earn your shit, right? Why couldn't they have done that here? It's not like they had to change anything in the game. Anyway, so that in and of itself is my one big idea. All that plays in basically together, and I don't doubt that the modding community can do something like that. I don't think it would take too much tweaking of the dialogue or anything else. Although the whole thing with earning your way into Diamond City and doing all that, maybe that would take some, re-scripting of a lot of dialogue and stuff like that. Like I say, I'm no programmer. I'm no coder. I just have some basic ideas on what would have made the game frigging amazing. I would have been in it, and I'd have never been out. I'd have never had to do a single mental workaround. I could have just got into it and played my character and made my place and a name for myself in the Commonwealth as it was set. The canvas is there to paint on. It's just like they took blue and white and a big ass fucking roller brush and just slapped whatever on there and just said, okay, there's your story. Dole is a bag of hammers. Sorry, I don't want to knock it too hard, but sometimes you got to call it for what it is, type of thing. Anyway, all right, so that was my idea. I brought it up the last video. Thought I would share it with you. Guys, tell me what you think. Comment section down there for you to rant on me or agree, one way or the other. Everyone else seemed to think it was a pretty decent idea too, and would really like to see something like that. If nothing else, Bethesda take note so that Elder Scrolls 6 isn't the complete disaster that's going down the road that they've traveled with Skyrim and Fallout 4. I dread that. I dread that because I want Elder Scrolls 6 to be so friggin' amazing. I don't just want it to look good. Honestly, I don't care how it looks as long as they've got some substance to it. And are they hearing that? I don't know. I think they made enough money off Skyrim and Fallout 4 to have not learned any lessons. I'm sure, are convinced they're doing the right thing in going the direction they're going. So there's no way to fix Ada when she's hurt. She's got to be downed completely. Maybe I can, I hate to say it like this, maybe I can just put her out of her misery and then pick her back up. I don't see any way to force her to use a med kit, because she's still halfway alive, crawling along the ground, looking all pathetic. Anyway, like I said, not necessarily refined, plot outline there, but just some general ideas, just some things that I think they're basic. They seem to me just to be minor tweaks, but would make just a universe of difference in the game to be able to start it like that. But who am I to listen to? Nobody. Yep. Sometimes you wish you had a name in the industry just to get some ideas across there. I guess if I got on the forums and cried loud enough, maybe somebody would listen. I don't know. There we go. Finish her off and then pick her back up. That'll work.
Heads up.
I'd be happy to help if I can. Did you retrieve something from that robot?
Have you seen a robot with a brain like that before?
No, but my old caravan discovered records about them while we were scavenging military facilities. According to my databanks, it's called the Robobrain. It was considered one of the most technologically superior robots ever constructed, but the model never reached full production status.
It had this strange device on it.
Let's have a look. Impressive technology. If my analysis is correct, this is a specialized radar beacon. I suspect it's how the Mechanist was keeping track of the Robobrain you destroyed. As the next logical step, I need you to install this beacon within me so we can use it to our advantage.
Are you sure?
While there's only a 78.3% chance that I'm correct, I'd like to point out that it's the only lead we have.
Let's just hope it's safe.
I share your sentiment. You'll need to use a robot workbench to ensure proper installation, and my presence will be required. To maintain peak efficiency, I strongly recommend that we remain together until the radar beacon is successfully installed.
All right. Well, it looks like I have a road partner here. I'll travel with Ada for a while. She seems cool, if nothing else. At least she cares about who she's traveling with. She doesn't want to see another human die on her watch, right? So something found on that Robobrain is going to help her locate the Mechanist. I guess that's the general gist of this. And then she can go get her revenge. Something tells me it won't be quite that cut and dry. But you know what I see these robots doing out here? If he's behind that, it's cut and dry enough for me. Results are what matters. His reasons for doing so are kind of irrelevant, as long as innocent people out here are being terrorized by his machines. Not a whole lot different than Fallout 3. Although Fallout 3, he was more of a side joke. Here, he's a present threat. If it's not the Institute, and it's not, I don't know, the Brotherhood and whatever else, then it's this guy, this whack job. Alright, so it's sending me to the Red Rocket. I don't know that I have to go there, but for all I know, base of operations, it depends on where we're going next. I have no idea, so I'm just going to go there. And I won't suffer you guys through the long foot walk there. I'll just meet you there when we get there, alright? And we'll pick up from there. Alright, y'all take care. If you want to subscribe, click that button up top. Let me know what you think down in the comment sections below. And if you want to watch the rest of the Fallout 4 playthrough from the beginning, you can click that image in the middle. Alright, take care. Bye-bye.